I think it's one of the things I love is and that's partly one of the beautiful things about your infographics, and we're showing as we speak, and we're going to see people at least can check the links. But really, you have amazing things in terms of very practical stuff and visual note taking, digital sketchbooks, and visual notes that you do on the iPad. But you have a lot of things that are a lot of education that goes from sustainability to ChatGPT. For instance, you have a ChatGPT infographic that is fantastic for people right now that is more on the hype, but a lot of different things like 30-day digital note taking. So let's look at this process of visual thinking.
Yeah.
You touch a bit of the career, the work with Apple, the work with this. So how do you see visual thinking for people that never thought about it? I just actually recently I interview a fantastic personality in UI UX. He's actually one of the biggest experts in UI UX in the world, and he worked in engineer for Hollywood, and now he's building AI chatbots. And one of the things we discussed is the front end and the back end. And the front end is the way we build technology. But what you do is that you create a digital narrative to understand technology, to understand education, and even thinking. And this is really important because I think one of the things in terms of education is, first of all, understanding complex subjects in simple. First, I'm a completely addict to graphic books, and I draw a lot as well. Although that is probably not as well known as my professional career as CEO. But one of the things that I love is this kind of synthesizing big amounts of information and put it in visual thinking. And definitely, I want to see your book, so about the introspectives. But let's look at how you see visual thinking and as well creating digital thinking through your process.
Yeah, it's so interesting actually, because the whole concept of visual notes to help individuals kind of goes back quite a long way actually, and it came about through my son actually. So he was in middle school at the time, and he was struggling, really struggling in middle school, cognitively, and just not doing very well in a test. And I remember that one week he got his test back in science, and it was like a 28 or 31 or something percent. And and we were just so like, what can we do to help? So I thought I'd sit down with him and work on a kind of a visual together, just to see whether that might help him. I'd always felt that he was quite similar to me in the way that he learns, and I vividly remember, like yesterday, working on this sketch note together, to bring together the information and the visuals and to capture that concept he was learning. And so that week he had another test and he got 81%. And so, and so he said that the visuals just helped him to remember. And so from that, I mean, it was such a poignant moment for me, for someone who's been teaching so long, saying like visuals matter. It was like a real wake up moment. And so I started to research more into visuals and the brain. And as you said in your introduction, my whole master's thesis was about the impact of visuals on memory and learning. And through that thesis, I started to work with students. And the more I listened to them speak, the more I heard that they just didn't have effective learning strategies. They had to remember so much information the higher up the school they went. And so I worked on a little online course with them about visual strategies for learning. And when the data came back, or when I started going through all their responses and interviewing them, it really made a difference to so many students. Often certain types of learners would have a stronger impact on them. But what was also interesting, it had a real impact on their confidence and well-being as well. And that's something that's always been really important to me about the well-being of students and people around me. And so that was quite a driving force really into into what I was doing. And, you know, I'd had that inkling in myself that if these drawings and these sketch notes were working for me, why wouldn't they work for other people? But so often people have that classic statement, well, I can't draw, you know, it's going to look so ugly. And I suppose you look at that as well, who's the note for? If it's for a big, huge audience, of course you want to make it look nice, whatever nice means. You want to make it look clear and you know, easily understood. But if the notes and the information is for yourself, whether it's to remember for a test or you wanted to just capture the whole thoughts from a book or film or something, then it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be functional. I think that's quite an interesting dilemma, perhaps we could call it, of how people sit when it comes to visual note taking themselves, and when they look at other people's notes. I can't do that. I can't make it look like Nicki does, but it doesn't have to. That's just my way. And what other people do is equally as helpful and as effective.
It's beautiful, and I think you touched a couple of very important points, especially the visual education.